There's not a whole hell of a lot I can say about Mega Man that I haven't already said in the past, but goddamn do I love this series. And it all started with a humble NES game that was a labor of love for a small group of Capcom employees who were told that their idea would not sell and they shouldn't waste their time. So without further ado, here's 10 facts about Mega Man. It's pretty common knowledge that before he was Mega Man, he was Rockman in Japan. It's less well known that many other names were considered before they settled on Rockman, which, by the way, is after rock music, not, rocks. There are a bunch, but the ones considered the most were Mighty Kid and Rainbow Kid. Rainbow was meant to play off the fact that changing weapons changes him to different colors. Rockman was chosen simply for the fact that they thought it sounded better. As for the switch to Mega Man, there are a lot of rumors out there, like that Capcom USA felt that there would be controversy with rock as being a slang term for cocaine. However, the most recent info out of Capcom says that they just felt the name sounded dumb at the time. Then again, this is Capcom, so who knows what really happened. One of the obvious ways the original Mega Man differs from its many sequels is there being 6 stages rather than 8. Mega Man 2 having 8 stages is a case of sequel escalation, and as it was such a huge success and the series' breakout hit, all of the following sequels copied the formula. However, Mega Man and its 6 levels is consistent with the rest of the series. It always involves 8 Robot Masters, but in this case, Rock himself counts, as does his sister Roll. That works out just fine, though the PSP remake, Mega Man Powered Up, added 2 new Robot Masters, Time Man and Oil Man, to give the game the now traditional 8 levels. Here's something interesting. Dr. Light and Dr. Wily are both based visually and thematically after real-life scientists. Dr. Light is based off of Thomas Edison, and Dr. Wily is based off of Albert Einstein. They even share the same first names, Albert Wily and Thomas Light, though Light's look was also based off of Santa Claus. You might wonder why they based the evil asshole off of the peace-loving Einstein and the good guy after the real-life shithead Thomas Edison. Well, keep in mind that although he intended it to never be used, Einstein did invent the atomic bomb, and Japan, well, they're understandably pretty sore about that. Edison may have been a patent-stealing cockhole, but he never invented a weapon of mass destruction. At least not that I know of. The 6 weapons gained from the Robot Masters are part of gaming culture, and if you're a Mega Man fan, you probably could name them off the top of your head. The Hyper Bomb, the Super Arm, the Rolling Cutter, the Elect Beam, the Ice Slasher, and the Fire Storm. But believe it or not, the names of the weapons are not actually present in the game at all. Later remakes such as Wily Wars and the Rockman Complete Works, as well as games like the Game Boy series and the arcade games, gave them their names, retroactively. Despite being commercially disappointing for Capcom, the original Mega Man is actually one of the most influential games of all time. Graphically, the Mega Man sprite had a 3-frame walk cycle and 5 colors, while walk cycles were usually 2 frames and sprites used 3 colors. Mega Man even had an idle animation, he blinked. This level of polish raised the bar for NES games. Gameplay-wise, Mega Man was one of the first games that allowed you to complete the stages in any order you pleased, essentially inventing the concept of non-linearity for action games, a concept previously reserved for only adventure games or RPGs. There's a rumor going around that Mega Man started initially as an Astro Boy game, but Capcom either lost the rights or was unable to acquire them in the first place. However, this isn't true. Mega Man was an original concept from the get-go. However, one of his character's creators, Keiji Inafune, did work on Mega Man's visual, and he did draw a lot of inspiration from Astro Boy. Well, while it's cool and all for Mega Man to have some inspiration from such a storied character, I'm just glad the boy robot concept was the only thing they borrowed, and not the creepy shirtless part or the anal cannon part. Although Mega Man changing colors is one of the character's defining traits, the default blue color is just as important to the overall visualization of the character. After all, he is nicknamed the Blue Bomber. What's interesting is the reason Mega Man is blue is not due to any stylistic choice, but because of the NES itself. The system had a rather limited color palette, especially compared to the arcade hardware that Capcom was accustomed to using. The NES, however, has more available shades of blue than any other color, hence the Blue Bomber. Ever wonder about this strange, hard-to-reach item found in the 4th Wily stage? It appears only once, and refills all of your health and weapon energy. The only other mainline Classic Series games to have one were Mega Man 8 and Mega Man 10. Well, it's called a Yashichi, and it was actually a common fixture of Capcom's early arcade titles. The Yashichi originally appeared in Capcom's very first game, Vulgus, but it wasn't a power-up, it was an enemy. Capcom occasionally dredges up the Yashichi for nostalgia's sake, but for the most part, it's just a piece of history. Mega Man was a fairly successful game, more so than Capcom initially expected based on the initial concept. They originally planned not to localize the game, but the higher sales allowed the game to be released outside of Japan. However, they felt the sales were still not high enough to do a sequel. When the team asked to make one, they were told flatly, no, absolutely not. They were instead tasked with adapting a home port of one of their arcade titles. However, the team felt so strongly about the prospect of a Mega Man 2, they continually petitioned Capcom executives until they finally relented. The team were allowed to make Mega Man 2, but on their own time only. They had to remain on schedule with their assigned project and worked on Mega Man 2 in their free time. Considering how well the game turned out, this is nothing short of miraculous. This also explains why Mega Man 2 feels sort of like a do-over, even copying over parts of the last boss. The dev team felt that they needed to get it right the second time. Lastly, Mega Man is one of those games that it seems you can play it on any system, what with all the ports, remakes, collections, and examples of emulation such as the Virtual Console. That being said, there are 2 games out there called Mega Man that are completely different games. One for the PC was a cheaply made original game that is best left forgotten. The other on Game Gear is a Western-developed game in the style of Mega Man 5. Neither of these has ever been released in Japan, so there's no confusion there. And, well, they haven't been re-released at all, except that supposedly the Game Gear version is supposed to come out on Virtual Console fairly soon, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's it for 10 facts about Mega Man, and that's it for this season.